So normal, why do I feel terrible still? You've gone in to get the checkup because you are exhausted, not sleeping, gaining weight, feeling anxious, struggling with brain fog. But you hear this word, good news, your labs are normal. Now, don't get me wrong, that is good news. But if you've ever driven back home wondering, then why do I still feel so awful? You're not alone. And today I want to explain why these two things can be true at the same time. Your lab results can be perfectly normal and your symptoms can be still very real. My name is Milka, if we haven't met before. I am a nurse practitioner. My office is based out of Columbia, Maryland. I help women in the midlife, perimenopause, menopause transition with hormonal imbalances and metabolic health. One of the most common conversations I have with my ladies here is about laboratory testing. Many believe that their lab work, if it's normal, there shouldn't be anything wrong. But today, I want to explain why medicine doesn't quite work like that. What does normal labs really mean? When your healthcare professional orders blood work, they're usually asking specific questions. Could your fatigue be caused by anemia? Is your thyroid functioning properly? Do you have diabetes? Are your kidneys healthy? Is your liver functioning well? These tests are incredibly important. They are designed to help diagnose disease or rule out disease. So when your laboratory testings are normal, that's actually reassuring. It means we haven't found evidence of many serious medical conditions. And that is good news. But here's the part many people don't quite realize. A normal laboratory result doesn't automatically explain why you're having symptoms. Symptoms don't always show up on a lab report. See, lab tests can't tell us how exhausted you feel after sleeping for 8 hours, how many times you wake up during the night, how much brain fog is affecting your work, or whether your anxiety suddenly became overwhelming, or how much your quality of life has changed over the past year. These things don't appear on a lab report. That's why medicine has never been about treating numbers in the laboratory report. Good clinical care combines many different pieces of the information: your symptoms, medical history, surgical histories, physical condition, physical examination, other diagnostic tests, for example, sleep studies, and your laboratory report. Each piece contributes to the overall picture. What about hormone testing? This is where menopause care can especially become very confusing. Many women assume that if we check hormone levels, the answer should be very obvious. But female sex hormones don't behave like that. They don't behave like cholesterol or blood sugars. If you're still having your menstrual cycles, estrogen and progesterone naturally rise and fall throughout the month. Now, during perimenopause, these fluctuations often become more unpredictable. Now, a single blood test is simply one snapshot in time. Another important thing to understand is that the normal range printed on the lab report is called the reference range. It's based on measurements from a large group of people and provide clinicians with useful clinical framework. But it doesn't always explain why one individual woman is experiencing symptoms. So, for example, it is not uncommon for two women to have similar estrogen levels and feel completely different, or for a woman to have estrogen levels that fall within the laboratory reference ranges of normal and still experience hot flashes. That's why hormone levels are interpreted alongside a woman's symptoms, age, surgical histories, medical histories, and if she's getting treatment, is she responding over time? Hormone laboratory testing guide clinical decisions. It is one important piece of the puzzle, but not the entire puzzle. Why do we check levels at all if hormone tests don't provide every answer, especially in the perimenopause, menopause women? Why check them at all? Well, because they still provide valuable clinical information. They can help us understand where someone is in the overall picture. They may support your clinical change or challenge what we're thinking clinically. Sometimes they help rule out other conditions. Sometimes they help monitor treatment. And sometimes they remind us that a person's symptoms cannot be explained by one laboratory value. We need serials sometimes. Good healthcare isn't about finding one magical number. It's about putting together the medical history, the physical exam, the symptoms, the laboratory testing, other diagnostic testings, for example, the sleep apnea rule out, to make the best possible clinical decision. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from this video today, it is this. A normal laboratory result does not mean your symptoms are not real. And it doesn't mean you're imagining your symptoms. And it certainly doesn't mean you simply have to learn to live with feeling unwell. Laboratory tests are incredibly valuable. They help identify certain conditions, rule out others, and guide important medical decisions, but they don't always explain how you feel. Many people place a tremendous amount of hope in their lab work, expecting it to provide one clear answer that explains everything. Sometimes it does, but often, especially during perimenopause and menopause, it doesn't. That's why it is so important to pay attention to your symptoms. When did they begin? Have they changed over time? Are they affecting your sleep, your work, your relationships, your ability to exercise, or simply your quality of life? These observations are just as important as the numbers on the laboratory report. They deserve to be part of your healthcare conversation, because good healthcare isn't about treating the lab report. It's about understanding your unique clinical picture as individual and your symptoms, your medical history, your exam, and your laboratory testing finding, together with all the other tests, tell the full picture, the full story. And that's how thoughtful, individualized healthcare decisions are made. If you have ever been told your labs are normal, everything looks fine, how did it make you feel? I'd genuinely love to hear your experience in the comments below. And if this video helped you better understand what laboratory testing can and cannot tell your providers, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you're in Maryland and looking for individualized care for perimenopause, menopause, hormonal health, or metabolic wellness, I'd be honored to help you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.